Kazuma is an Isekaid loser who dreams of becoming a legendary hero in his new world. But the moment he realizes his S-tier party of gorgeous baddies is actually completely useless, he ditches his heroic dreams and vows to make them his personal harem instead. The night before getting Isekaid, Kazuma finally steps out of his otaku room to buy a new viral game he's been waiting for. After getting his copy, he's excited to go home and spend his time playing it alone. But as he walks back, he notices a girl from his school about to get hit by a truck. Without thinking, he rushes in to save her, but when he opens his eyes, he finds himself in a strange place. A blue-haired girl walks up to him and explains that he's in the afterlife. The girl reveals that the student he saved is completely fine, and in fact, she never needed saving at all. As the isekai maker Kazuma thought he saw was actually just a harmless tractor that stopped before reaching her. Hearing this, Kazuma is left speechless as the girl bursts out laughing, revealing that Kazuma died of fright, then peed himself, and was so pathetic that even his family and the doctors made fun of him. After getting a few laughs, the girl finally introduces herself as Aqua, a goddess. She gives him two choices, that he can either live peacefully in heaven or be reborn in another world fighting the Demon King where he can start his life over from scratch. Kazuma accepts the second option and is shown all kinds of powerful weapons and abilities. But Kazuma suddenly gets an idea, and instead of choosing a weapon, he chooses to bring Aqua along. And Aqua immediately panics and insists he can't do that. But another goddess appears and explains that Kazuma's wish is completely valid. She then sends Aqua along with him, making her terrified. The next thing they know, the two are transported to a peaceful fantasy city called Axel, and Kazuma is amazed. He sees it as a chance to reinvent himself as this world's Goku and stop being a shut-in gamer. Aqua, on the other hand, is completely stressed out. She realizes she can't return home until the Devil King is defeated, and now she's stuck with Kazuma the entire time. Kazuma quickly decides that they need to find an adventurer guild, and even Aqua is impressed by how reliable he's suddenly acting. The two then arrive at the guild and are welcomed by the bustier-than-your-mama receptionist, Luna. However, Luna informs them that they will need money to pay the registration fee, and with no idea what to do, they sit at a table feeling completely defeated. Things look so hopeless that they briefly think about giving up altogether. Then Aqua remembers that she's a goddess, and she confidently approaches a random dude and reveals her true identity. She expects him to immediately worship her and hand over all his money, but instead, the dude feels bad for her for being delusional and reveals that he praises another goddess named Eris. But the dude still kindly gives her some money out of pity, and Aqua thanks him, although she's disappointed that nobody seems to recognize her divine status. With enough money secured, the two finally register as adventurers. They are then introduced to a magical device that measures their abilities and potential. Kazuma goes first, and he dreams of discovering some incredible hidden power and becoming a legendary hero, like King Arthur from England. Instead, the results reveal that he's just an ordinary adventurer, and his only standout stat is his ridiculously high luck, which makes Aqua laugh at him. Then Aqua takes her turn, and the moment the device scans her, Luna is stunned. The machine reveals that Aqua's stats are overwhelmingly powerful. Everyone in the guild is amazed and immediately starts looking forward to seeing what Aqua and Kazuma can accomplish together. Kazuma feels a little jealous, but he admits Aqua could be a huge asset. Some time passes and the pair end up working construction jobs to earn money and secure a place to live. Before long, they settle into a comfortable routine of eating, drinking, and hanging out with the people around them. Eventually, Kazuma realizes they've completely forgotten their original mission of defeating the Devil King. When he talks to Aqua about it, she suggests they finally take on their first monster quest, and Aqua confidently tells him not to worry because the power of family like Fast and Furious can overcome any monster they face. The next morning, Kazuma expects Aqua to be excited and ready for their first real quest, but quickly learns that she's a lazy, spoiled, and sloppy goddess who would happily do nothing all day if nobody is praying to her. At that moment, Kazuma starts regretting the promise he made to bring her along. When Aqua finally wakes up, Kazuma immediately scolds her for all the nonsense she told him, and he reminds her that they're still sleeping in a horse stable and are nowhere close to defeating the Devil King. Aqua barely pays attention and casually promises once again that her divine powers will solve everything. Aqua then gets excited and reveals her grand plan for the day, revealing that they're going to the Adventurer Guild to accept their first monster extermination quest. A few hours later, they find themselves standing outside town with a mission to eliminate 5 giant frogs within 5 days, and the confidence disappears almost immediately. Instead of helping, Aqua spends most of her time laughing while Kazuma gets chased around by giant frogs like Justin Bieber trying to escape Diddy. Terrified, Kazuma desperately calls for help, but Aqua just laughs harder. But then Karma arrives at full speed, and the frog suddenly changes targets and charges straight toward Aqua before swallowing her whole, forcing Kazuma to save her. After defeating the monster and rescuing Aqua, she comes out covered in slime and immediately starts crying. Kazuma suggests they head back and buy better equipment because they're obviously not prepared for this quest. Aqua refuses, feeling embarrassed that a low-level monster managed to make her look pathetic. Fueled entirely by pride, she rushes toward another frog and activates her ultimate technique, the the Fist of God. According to Aqua, this punch can defeat absolutely anything, but she throws the punch and nothing happens. Hell, the frog doesn't even blink. Aqua instantly loses all confidence and compliments the frog, but the frog has no interest in Hose and immediately eats her again. Once again, Kazuma has to save her. By the end of the day, they manage to defeat 2 frogs and bring them back to town. After cleaning up, Kazuma and Aqua sit down to eat. During dinner, Aqua suggests recruiting another adventurer to help them in the future. The next day, they post a recruitment notice on the guild's bulletin board. After waiting around for half the day, nobody shows any interest, and Kazuma starts feeling hopeless. The thought of spending his entire adventure stuck with the noob Aqua sounds worse than fighting the Devil King himself. Then a girl suddenly walks over to their table. She introduces herself as Megumin and says she's interested in joining the party. Megumin proudly announces that she's a powerful mage feared by many, and Aqua immediately recognizes that she's from the Crimson Demon Village, a place famous for producing highly intelligent wizards with unbelievably ridiculous names. When Aqua points this out, Megumin quickly starts bragging about how dangerous and powerful she is. But then, Megumin suddenly collapses onto the floor, and she admits that she hasn't eaten in days and desperately needs work. Kazuma feels bad for her, and Aqua even offers to heal the mysterious eye hidden beneath her eye patch. Megumin immediately refuses and claims a dangerous power is sealed inside her eye. Curious, Kazuma asks if that's true, but Megumin shamelessly reveals that she's lying, so Kazuma quickly rips it off. Afterward, while they sit down, Kazuma and Aqua secretly check her adventurer card. To their surprise, her stats are actually impressive, and she specializes in explosive magic. Thinking she could be useful against the giant frogs, Kazuma officially recruits her. The trio immediately heads back out to continue the quest, and while Megumin gets ready, Kazuma quietly explains that Aqua is actually a lazy slob who just likes calling herself a goddess. Aqua overhears this and gets offended. Determined to prove herself, she charges toward a frog and prepares to show off one of her divine abilities. A few seconds later, she's swallowed whole again, and Kazuma isn't even surprised anymore. Before he can rescue her, Megumin finally begins casting her spell. Dark energy gathers around her staff as massive amounts of mana flow into the magic circle. The dramatic buildup alone gets Kazuma excited. Then, Megumin unleashes Explosion, and the nuke-like blast completely vaporizes a giant frog in an instant, and Kazuma looks happier than a guy getting a sloppy toppy on a Sunday. For a moment, he thinks they've finally found a competent teammate, but then nearby frogs wake up. Suddenly, he notices Megumin collapsing onto the ground without moving, and she casually explains that using Explosion consumes all of her energy, leaving her completely helpless afterward. A few seconds later, she's swallowed whole. Now, Aqua and Megumin are both out of action, leaving Kazuma alone once again. By the end of the day, Kazuma somehow defeats all the remaining frogs and completes the quest almost entirely by himself. The group returns to town covered in slime and frog saliva, and along the way, Kazuma tells Megumin that she seriously needs to learn other spells. But Megumin immediately refuses, and she reveals that Explosion is the only spell she knows. Megumin proudly explains that she's dedicated her entire life to mastering Explosion and has no intention of learning another spell. For some reason, Aqua finds this incredibly inspiring, and the two girls instantly start bonding over their commitment to terrible decisions like single mothers with multiple baby daddies. Meanwhile, Kazuma realizes he's somehow assembled a party consisting entirely of liabilities. At that point, he realizes that he needs to get rid of Megumin, so he tells her that their adventure ends there, but Megumin latches onto him and begs him to let her stay with their party. Before long, the two end up arguing, and their fight attracts a crowd. The villagers notice Aqua and Megumin covered in strange white goo slime and instantly jump to the worst possible conclusion. But Megumin sees an opportunity. She immediately looks at Kazuma with the kind of expression that says she's about to ruin his life like Diddy to Justin Bieber. She instantly starts making up outrageous lies in front of the entire crowd, saying that Kazuma did the diddler 9,000 on her, which forces Kazuma to stay with them if he wants to keep what's left of his reputation. Later, while the girls are taking a bath, Kazuma collects the quest reward and checks his updated adventurer status. He's excited to learn that defeating monsters has helped him level up surprisingly fast, but then he sees the payment, and the reward is so small that it feels like he just fought for minimum wage. Just as he's wondering what to do next, another person notices their recruitment notice. A beautiful female knight approaches him and asks if she can join the party. Kazuma nearly chokes, as unlike his current teammates, she actually looks competent. The knight introduces herself as Darkness, and at first, Darkness seems perfect. She's beautiful, strong, noble, and exactly the kind of reliable teammate he's been looking for. But then she starts acting strangely like she's about to bust her cream any moment, and Kazuma realizes that this freakier than Bonnie Blue Knight might be weirder than Aqua and Megumin. Kazuma continues explaining that his party is basically a collection of useless people, and that he definitely wouldn't recommend Darkness join them. But Darkness doesn't back down. After seeing Kazuma and the others covered in giant frog slime, she becomes even more interested in joining. She believes she's the missing piece the party needs because, while her abilities are impressive, her accuracy is about as useless as a stormtrooper from Star Wars. Suddenly, Darkness moves closer to Kazuma and practically pressures him into accepting her application. Kazuma completely loses focus because he's never had a beautiful girl stand that close to him before. With no other option, he delays giving her an answer, even though he's already figured out that darkness is just as useless and maybe even weirder than the others. The next morning, Kazuma wakes up feeling refreshed and expects a productive day filled with better quests. Instead, he discovers Aqua has spent her skill points upgrading her party trick ability, making herself even more useless than before. Kazuma immediately questions his life choices and goes to talk with Megumin about how he should spend his own skill points. During their conversation, he learns that experienced adventurers can teach skills to others. Megumin instantly volunteers to become his teacher because she assumes he wants to learn explosion magic. Kazuma quickly shuts that idea down because he wants skills that are actually useful for normal quests. This leaves him even more confused about what to choose. Then Darkness suddenly appears and offers to teach him all sorts of useful beginner skills. Somehow, this only scares him. Darkness mainly came to ask about joining the party again, but Kazuma immediately rejected her. Instead of getting angry, Darkness looks strangely happy. That's when Kazuma discovers she's actually a masochist, which terrifies him because she is just like that dude from Fight Club. Before things get even weirder, another girl shows up. Her name is Chris, and she's Darkness's best friend. Unlike everyone else, she's surprisingly normal. Chris specializes in thief skills and offers to teach Kazuma the steal skill. Since that actually sounds useful, Kazuma immediately agrees. After buying Chris a drink, the group heads outside for training. Chris demonstrates the skill by creating a flash of light and instantly stealing Kazuma's money pouch. Kazuma is amazed and decides this is exactly the kind of skill he needs. Chris explains the skill tree and Kazuma suddenly feels his DNA changing, just like the Spider-Man movie. It is what it is. It is what it is. To test his new ability, Chris challenges him to steal something from her. She even offers her expensive dagger as a target. Kazuma gets excited because this feels like his first real adventurer moment. He activates steal and waits. At first, nothing seems to happen. Then he looks at what he grabbed. Somehow, instead of the dagger, he steals Chris's underwear. Kazuma celebrates like he just won the lottery while waving it around proudly. Darkness immediately gets way too interested after realizing Kazuma might be a pervert. Later, the group returns to the guild. Aqua and Megumin notice Chris looks embarrassed and depressed at the same time. Before Kazuma can explain himself, Darkness jumps in and tells everyone exactly what happened. She loudly announces that Kazuma stole a girl's underwear, which immediately gets the entire guild's attention. Kazuma wants to disappear on the spot. Aqua doesn't care about any of that and only wants to know if the skill works consistently. Left with no choice, Kazuma uses steal again. This time he accidentally steals another pair of underwear. Unfortunately for Megumin, they happen to be hers. Kazuma considers this another incredible success while Megumin is horrified. Darkness immediately positions herself as the girl's protector and argues that she needs to join the party to defend them from Kazuma's perverted behavior. Kazuma instantly rejects her again. Rather than getting upset, Darkness enjoys the rejection way too much, which leaves Megumin completely creeped out. Then Aqua finally realizes Darkness is the knight Kazuma mentioned earlier, so everyone sits down together. Darkness shows them her adventurer card and Megumin is immediately impressed. Her crusader stats are incredible and she seems like the perfect addition to the team. Kazuma disagrees because adding Darkness to the party feels like inviting another disaster into his life. To convince them, he reveals his true goal. He reminds everyone that their mission is to defeat the Devil King. Kazuma warns them that the Devil King is the strongest being in the world and that this isn't some casual adventure. Surprisingly, Darkness and Megumin become even more excited after hearing that. Their reactions leave Kazuma completely confused. Suddenly, an emergency alarm rings throughout the town. Every adventurer is ordered to report to the front gate immediately. The citizens panic and rush inside their homes as if World War II has started. Kazuma and the other adventurers race to the gates expecting to face the World War II famous dictator. Instead, they discover an army of flying cabbages heading toward town. Apparently, it's harvest season. Kazuma would rather go back to bed than spend his day collecting vegetables. The moment he learns each cabbage can be exchanged for money, his opinion changes instantly. Seeing an opportunity, Darkness decides it's finally time to show everyone her crusader skills. She charges into battle like she's the main character of an action movie. Then she swings her sword and misses every single cabbage. Just like that, Kazuma learns she's exactly as useless as he expected. A little later, Darkness notices several adventurers getting hurt by the flying vegetables. She immediately jumps in front of them and uses herself as a human shield. Kazuma and the others worry about her until they realize she's secretly enjoying every second of it. As the cabbages continue attacking, her armor slowly gets damaged. Darkness becomes embarrassed after noticing people staring at her, but somehow that only makes her happier. Eventually, Megumin gets tired of watching everyone struggle and decides to cast Explosion. Kazuma thinks it's a terrible idea, but Megumin ignores him. Seconds later, a massive explosion wipes out huge groups of cabbages and earns the party a fortune. By the end of the day, Kazuma uses steel to collect cabbages. Megumin blows up everything in sight. Darkness becomes both a shield and a local hero, and Aqua contributes absolutely nothing except entertaining people with party tricks. Despite making money and finishing the harvest, Kazuma is frustrated because the group once again completely forgets about defeating the Devil King. Still, the party is officially set. Kazuma is now stuck with 3 completely useless girls. Meanwhile, Darkness proudly declares that she'll protect him no matter what and looks forward to adventuring together. And with that, their ridiculous journey truly begins. A few days later, Kazuma learns a brand new skill. And somehow it's one of the most useful abilities he's gotten so far. He can now create water out of thin air. Around the same time, Darkness shows up wearing a brand new set of shiny armor. Kazuma isn't impressed at all, so he immediately hits her with some sarcasm. Unfortunately for him, Darkness enjoys every second of it. Kazuma isn't really in the mood to joke around because he still remembers his actual goal: defeating the Devil King. Looking at his party full of weirdos and useless adventurers, he starts losing hope and wonders what he's even supposed to do next. Meanwhile, Aqua runs out of money and decides to sell the cabbages she collected during the harvest. She expects to become rich only to discover that the vegetables she gathered are actually lettuces, which are practically worthless in town. Furious, Aqua marches straight to Kazuma looking for money. To everyone's surprise, Kazuma reveals that he earned nearly 1,000,000 Iris from his previous quests. He casually calls it a little fortune, which completely shocks the others. The real problem is that Aqua has built up a massive tab at the local bar and needs to pay it off before some scary-looking Arnold Schwarzenegger's type build guys come looking for her. Kazuma refuses to lend her any money because he's saving up to buy a proper house. Hearing that, Aqua immediately starts blackmailing him by bringing up the embarrassing things he does while they're sleeping in the stable. Eventually, Kazuma gives in and pays off her debt. Afterward, he proudly shows off his new adventurer outfit, which finally makes him look like a real adventurer. Everyone has something new to try out and they can't wait to test their gear on a quest. Kazuma suggests hunting giant frogs again, which instantly traumatizes Aqua and Megumin. As Kazuma explains how both of them got swallowed alive and covered in frog slime, Darkness somehow gets turned on like a car. Unfortunately, when Kazuma checks the quest board, he discovers most of the available missions are high-level requests. Apparently, one of the Devil King's generals has moved near town, making the area much more dangerous than before. That night, Aqua tries convincing Kazuma to accept one of the difficult quests. She confidently claims she can defeat one of the Devil King's generals if it's undead. Somehow that only makes Kazuma feel even less confident. The next day, Megumin drags Kazuma along for her daily explosion practice. Kazuma can't believe his life has turned into being Megumin's personal chauffeur, so he tells her to hurry up. Since the guards don't appreciate her blowing things up near town anymore, Kazuma suggests using an abandoned castle outside the city as a target. Megumin immediately falls in love with the idea and decides it's the perfect practice range. The moment she tests her new staff, the explosion is even stronger than before. From that day onward, Kazuma's routine becomes carrying Megumin home after every practice session because she can't move afterward. Aqua spends her days trying to sell random things while Darkness returns home to train with heavy weights. Kazuma's life becomes painfully boring since there are no suitable quests available, but he still accompanies Megumin every day. Together, they visit the abandoned castle over and over as Megumin continues leveling up her explosion magic. Eventually, Kazuma notices how much stronger she's become, and finally starts understanding why she loves explosions so much. The two slowly grow closer through their daily routine. Several days later, Kazuma is relaxing at the stable when Aqua suddenly arrives carrying a huge bowl of food. Kazuma decides to be honest with her, and points out that they're nowhere near defeating the Devil King because she spends all her time and money partying. Aqua immediately bursts into tears. She cries so much that by the next day, even the girls are getting tired of it. Suddenly, Luna sounds the emergency alarm and everyone in town rushes to the gates. Adventurers gather outside and find a terrifying figure waiting for them. A dark suit of armor sits atop a horse, glowing ominously despite having no head and no body inside it. This mysterious knight is actually one of the Devil King's generals, the Dilahan. He's absolutely furious because someone keeps blasting explosion magic at his castle every single day. According to him, whoever is responsible has basically declared war. The entire crowd slowly turns to look at Megumin. Even another mage nearby starts crying because she thinks she might get blamed too. Feeling responsible, Megumin steps forward and boldly introduces herself. She tells the Dullahan that she's the one responsible and is ready to face him if he decides to attack. The Dullahan doesn't actually want to fight. He just wants her to stop blowing up his castle every day. Unfortunately, Megumin has no intention of stopping. The Dullahan laughs at first but quickly starts losing patience. Megumin keeps talking and somehow manages to annoy him even more. Eventually, the Dullahan reaches his limit. Megumin immediately calls Aqua over for support. The Dullahan becomes suspicious because it suddenly feels like he's walking into a trap. Instead of declaring war, he decides to teach Megumin a lesson by casting a deadly curse on her. Before it can hit her, Darkness jumps in front of the spell like a bodyguard saving the president game and takes the curse herself. The Dullahan announces that Darkness will die in 1 week and declares that it's all Megumin's fault. Megumin immediately feels terrible. Surprisingly, Darkness gets back up and starts confronting the Dullahan. She points out that his whole plan basically involves forcing a girl to obey him, which makes everyone uncomfortable. Darkness then volunteers to go with the Dullahan, if that's what it takes to remove the curse. Instead of being impressed, the Dullahan becomes completely creeped out because Darkness is somehow making the situation weird. Darkness starts walking toward him, but Kazuma quickly stops her. Watching Darkness get excited about being cursed leaves the Dullahan embarrassed beyond belief. Eventually, he reminds Megumin that all of this happened because she wouldn't stop bombing his castle. To remove the curse, he orders Megumin to come to his castle and face him personally. Then he disappears into thin air. The situation suddenly becomes serious and nobody knows what to do. Megumin immediately starts heading toward the castle and Kazuma decides to go with her. Megumin appreciates the support and Kazuma refuses to let her face one of the Devil King's generals alone. Before they can leave, Darkness stops them and tells them not to risk their lives for her sake. Then just as they're preparing to leave, Aqua finally decides to do something useful. She casually casts a spell on Darkness. Instantly, the curse disappears. Darkness feels completely refreshed and everyone else is left speechless. Aqua reveals that removing curses like this is like playing Minecraft on peaceful mode and she could do it every day if necessary. The entire town erupts into cheers. Every adventurer starts celebrating Aqua for saving Darkness, and before long a huge party breaks out in her honor. Kazuma and Megumin can only stand there in disbelief because they were completely prepared to storm a Devil King's castle. The next day, Kazuma wakes up to the sight of Aqua drooling all over the bed like a pit bull. Seeing her makes him frustrated because somehow Aqua has become even more useless and completely forgotten about their real mission. Later, the party sits down at the guild, where Aqua desperately wants to complete a quest because she's drowning in debt. For the first time, she's actually willing to give it her all and even lets Kazuma lead because she's tired of paying off debts through part-time jobs. The party doesn't mind taking a quest, so Kazuma tells Aqua to pick something decent and normal. Aqua immediately goes straight to playing Minecraft hardcore mode. Just before she accepts it, Kazuma stops her after noticing she picked a dangerous high-level quest. He puts it back and waits to see what she'll choose next. Eventually, Aqua finds the perfect quest for herself. All she has to do is purify a lake that's infested with monsters. The reward is decent, and the danger seems manageable, so she immediately wants it. Before she can confirm the quest, Kazuma asks if she can actually purify an entire lake because she's more famous for party tricks than goddess tricks. That instantly makes Aqua furious, and she starts begging him because purification is literally the one thing she's good at. Kazuma says she can do the quest alone and keep all the money for herself. Aqua immediately refuses because she still needs someone to protect her from the monsters. Later, the group heads toward the lake while carrying something on a horse. Aqua, the only person capable of purifying the lake, is locked inside a cage like some pedo bear from Gmod. Naturally, this is all Kazuma's idea. When they arrive, they throw Aqua into the lake like a tea bag into a cup of tea.
Why are you crying?
Aqua decides not to do anything because she's insulted by Kazuma's plan. She just sits there waiting for him to get annoyed. Hours pass and Kazuma checks on her. Aqua looks busy performing purification magic, but she's actually just counting the iron bars on her cage. Eventually, Kazuma decides to be nice and offers to let her out if she needs to use the bathroom. That somehow makes her even angrier. After Aqua says she doesn't need the bathroom, Megumin and Darkness immediately announce that they don't need it either. Kazuma quickly realizes nobody is giving him an excuse to use his questionable ideas. A few more hours pass and no monsters show up. Kazuma starts getting frustrated. Suddenly, a loud noise erupts from the lake and scares Aqua. Unfortunately, a pack of giant crocodile monsters appears and they look very interested in eating her. They start chomping on the cage like they're auditioning for Jurassic Park. Aqua instantly changes her opinion about the quest. Kazuma and the others aren't much help either. They mostly stand around watching Aqua become monster bait until she finally decides enough is enough. Panicking at last, Aqua unleashes her purification. The lake becomes completely purified. The water is clear, drinkable, and every monster disappears. When Kazuma and the others go to retrieve her, they notice Aqua doesn't want to leave the cage. She seems perfectly happy staying inside for a while. They try cheering her up by telling her she gets all the reward money. Aqua doesn't care. She just wants to go home. So Aqua ends up traumatized by another quest, but somehow the group still manages to complete it. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a hero and his companions are battling a legendary ancient dragon. The hero's name is Kyuya, and he was also reincarnated into this world by a beautiful goddess. He dreams of meeting her again, but first he has to complete his mission and defeat the Devil King with the sacred sword she gave him. After the battle, Kyuya and his companions return to town, while his teammates argue because one of them gets jealous. Kyuya feels proud of himself and remains grateful to the goddess who gave him this new life. Suddenly, he hears someone singing with a voice that sounds exactly like hers. Curious, he follows the sound and is shocked to discover his beloved goddess trapped inside a cage. Unfortunately, the goddess is Aqua. Aqua still refuses to leave the cage, which frustrates Kazuma because everyone passing by keeps giving him disgusted looks. Then the horse suddenly stops. Someone is holding it from behind. It's Kyuya. Believing Aqua is a prisoner, he immediately frees her. Darkness steps in to confront him, but before she can do anything, Kyuya starts calling Aqua a goddess. Kazuma quickly reminds Aqua that she actually is a goddess and should probably deal with this herself. Aqua immediately jumps back into action. When she faces Kyuya, she doesn't remember who he is at all. Instead, she pretends she does and starts acting like they're old friends. Kazuma then explains everything from the beginning. Kyuya is horrified. He grabs Kazuma by the neck because he can't believe someone would drag a goddess into such a miserable situation. Aqua and Darkness quickly separate them. Aqua then reveals that she's actually having fun with Kazuma. She even mentions things like living in a horse stable. That somehow makes Kyuya even angrier. He demands an explanation because, from his perspective, Kazuma has an amazing party. Kazuma secretly laughs because he's hearing someone be jealous of him for the first time. The reality is the exact opposite. Kazuma is the one jealous of Kyuya because Kyuya gets to live the fantasy adventure Kazuma always wanted while Kazuma suffers every day with his dysfunctional party. Kyuya invites the entire group to join him, but everyone gets creeped out and refuses. Kazuma speaks for the group and tells Kyuya their answer. Unfortunately, Kyuya refuses to accept it. He won't allow Aqua to stay in an environment he thinks is beneath a goddess, so he challenges Kazuma to a duel. Kazuma immediately accepts. Then he creates a distraction and uses steel. In an instant, Kazuma steals Kyuya's sacred sword and smacks him unconscious with it. Unfortunately, he quickly learns he can't actually lift the sword because it's cursed to only be wielded by Kyuya. Not wanting to waste a valuable item, Kazuma decides he'll just drag it around and sell it anyway. Before he can leave, Kyuya's companions stop him. At this point, Kazuma has had enough. He starts making creepy finger movements that completely freak the girls out and sends them running away from his overwhelming pervert energy. A few days later, the group is eating lunch at the guild. Aqua is furious because she never got any reward money. The cost of the cage ended up eating all her profits. Suddenly, Kyuya appears again and desperately asks Aqua to join his party. Instead of feeling sorry for him, Aqua punches him with God Blow and knocks him flat. After waking him up, she immediately demands money from him, like a street thug, and somehow succeeds. Kyuya then asks Kazuma to return the sacred sword in exchange for a swordsmith voucher. That's when he learns Kazuma already sold it. After Kyuya leaves, Darkness questions Kazuma about why Kyuya keeps calling Aqua a goddess. Aqua finally decides to reveal her true identity. She proudly introduces herself as the goddess worshipped by the Axis cult. Before she can convince anyone, an emergency alarm suddenly rings through the town. Every adventurer is ordered to gather at the front gate. Kazuma and his party are especially needed, as if a Titan from Attack on Titan has just shown up. When they arrive outside, they are stunned to discover the Dullahan has returned. Kazuma and the others are stunned when they find out the Dullahan is even more furious than before, and it turns out someone has been blowing up his castle with explosion magic. Kazuma immediately pinches Megumin and Aqua's cheeks because he already knows it's them, adding yet another problem to his never-ending list. The Dullahan feels disrespected, so he introduces himself as Verdia, a Dullahan and a hero slayer. He yells at them for treating him like a joke, and things get worse when Darkness comes up in the conversation. Verdia is convinced his death curse finished her off, but then Darkness shows up alive and well, leaving him completely shaken. He can't wrap his head around why his curse did nothing, but before he can process it, Aqua jumps in and starts laughing in his face, making Verdia look like a guy who spends hours building a Lego just to get pushed by a kid. She casually reveals that she lifted his curse right after he left, turning his whole effort into one big punchline. That sets Verdia off, and he warns Aqua to stop laughing or he'll wipe all of them out. Aqua is not having it, so she hits him with her turn undead magic, and he actually feels it burning. But she gets embarrassed when he's still standing, and now she's the nervous one. Verdia gets back up in pain and is completely done with Aqua's nonsense, so he summons an entire undead army to destroy the town. He commands the undead army to attack the town, but every single one of them ignores the order and charges straight at Aqua instead, basically begging her to send them to paradise. Aqua sprints across the field screaming for help, and somehow that turns Darkness on. Eventually, Aqua gets so fed up that she drags Kazuma into it, and now both of them are running for their lives with an undead army on their heels. But Kazuma already has a plan. He lures the undead right to Verdia's position so Megumin can drop her explosion magic on all of them at once. She casts it, everything gets wiped out in one shot, and Verdia finally gets a taste of the thing he hates most. The moment Megumin collapses from exhaustion, Kazuma scoops her up, and they head home. The whole crowd cheers for them, and for a second it actually feels like Kazuma's party might be the ones to take down the Demon King. Then Verdia crawls out of the crater, surprising them like a movie villain that fell off a cliff and survived, and then he starts complimenting Megumin's power as if nothing happened. Everyone freezes because this guy is still alive, and nobody has any magic left to do anything about it. The other adventurers step up and all attack Verdia at the same time, and Kazuma immediately clocks that it's a trap, but can't warn them fast enough. Verdia takes them all down without even trying. He's completely out of patience now and goes straight for Kazuma and Megumin, but Darkness jumps in and blocks his sword. Kazuma tells her to fall back, but Darkness is having the time of her life and refuses to move. She can't land a single hit on Verdia, but she is an absolute wall, so she just tanks every blow to protect the others. She even swings at him a couple of times and misses every single one, which embarrasses her more than it hurts her. Verdia starts really going at Darkness, and Kazuma is backed into a corner. Everyone is waiting for Kyuya because his magic sword is supposed to be the only thing that can eliminate Verdia, but Kazuma's mind is already cooking up something else. Before he can move, Darkness starts calling Verdia her soulmate and begging to be his pet just to witness the true power of a Demon King's general. And Verdia looks genuinely disturbed. Kazuma is equally weirded out but wastes no time and gets to work. He drenches everyone in water, which embarrasses Darkness, then freezes Verdia's feet and tries to steal his weapon. When he opens his eyes and realizes he doesn't have the skills to pickpocket a high-level demon general, the situation somehow gets worse. Verdia is actually impressed, but goes back to beating up Darkness. Kazuma keeps analyzing and hits him with more water, and Verdia flinches, which is the first real clue. They all start spraying Verdia with water, and it clearly rattles him, but it still isn't enough to finish the job. Then Aqua shows up out of nowhere looking completely lost about what's going on, like someone who skips a group project at school. Kazuma loses it and calls her a useless goddess, which makes her tear up. With no other options, Aqua sighs, puts her hands together, and decides to remind everyone exactly why she's called the Goddess of Water. She summons a massive flood that terrifies Verdia and absolutely wrecks the town, including the entrance gate. When the water settles, everyone is exhausted and Verdia is still standing. Just as he's about to finish them all off, Kazuma dumps every last bit of his magic into one steal attempt. He opens his eyes and realizes he grabbed Verdia's helmet, not his weapon, leaving the guy completely blind. Kazuma starts laughing like a villain because he just got the best idea. They all start playing football with Verdia's helmet, tossing it around like it's the World Cup, while Verdia stumbles around unable to see a thing. And while all of that is going on, Aqua walks up and completely obliterates Verdia with her Sacred Turn Undead spell. Just like that, the day is saved again. The sun breaks through and shines down on all of them like a victory cutscene. Darkness goes to pray for the men who fell in battle, only to find out they're all alive. And that's entirely because Aqua brought them back with her goddess powers, which leaves Darkness embarrassed. The next day, Kazuma walks into the guild to find Aqua and the others already drunk off the celebration. Luna presents Kazuma's party with a reward for taking down one of the Demon King's top generals, and the whole room gives them a standing ovation. The reward turns out to be 300 million Eris, and suddenly everyone wants to be Kazuma's best friend. He gathers the party and tells them he's had a change of heart about defeating the Demon King and would much rather just live a chill life. Then Luna walks over and hands him a card that drains the color from his face. The flood Aqua summoned destroyed the town's entrance gate, and the repair bill comes out to 40 million Eris, all charged to Kazuma. The party looks at him with the saddest eyes and promises to help pay off the debt together. And somehow, despite everything, that's enough to make Kazuma smile because maybe, just maybe, his chaotic little party isn't so bad after all. Days after the Verdia incident, snow starts falling across the parallel world, and winter is officially here. Kazuma is already miserable about it because he's broke and getting more desperate by the day. He starts taking it out on Aqua, blaming her for the flood that buried them in debt and left him living in a horse stable. He woke up freezing that morning and genuinely starts wondering if he'll survive the season at this rate. Aqua wants out of the stable just as badly, but she flips it on Kazuma, pointing out that a goddess who literally saved the town should not be sleeping next to horses, which does nothing but make Kazuma more frustrated. Then Megaman and Darkness show up, both completely done with watching these two argue every single day. Kazuma breaks down the situation and makes it clear he needs money fast. Megaman points out that the other adventurers are loaded from the Verdia reward and suggests they grab a quest before the good ones are gone. When Kazuma checks the board, he's shocked to see it hasn't been touched in a while, and that actually gets him motivated. The party starts scanning for something worth their time. Darkness immediately eyes a quest to hunt snow beasts because she's already picturing herself getting absolutely destroyed by them, and Kazuma shuts that down instantly. Megaman then tries pitching a one-hit monster quest, which involves a creature that can end anyone it touches in a single shot, and Kazuma eliminates that idea just as fast. There's also a quest about something called the Destroyer, a massive moving fortress that apparently tears through everything at high speed, which is somehow a fan favorite among kids for how ridiculous it looks. Kazuma ignores all of it because something else catches his eye, a quest about capturing snow sprites. Megaman starts filling him in on what they are, but before she even finishes, the rest of the party is already gearing up with huge smiles on their faces, which makes Kazuma immediately suspicious. The party heads out to a snowy mountain to take on the Snow Sprite quest, which turns out to be seriously high-paying. Kazuma clowns on Aqua for what she's wearing, and Darkness starts acting unsettling again, standing in the freezing wind with this look on her face like she's waiting for something. The hunt kicks off, and it goes shockingly well. Aqua catches the sprites and stuffs them in a jar to make icy drinks later. Kazuma is slicing through them one by one like he's playing EAFC beginner difficulty. Megaman drops an explosion on a whole cluster of them. By the end of it, the party has wiped out a solid number of snow sprites, and Kazuma starts wondering why nobody else bothered to take this quest. Then the sky shifts, a snowstorm rolls in out of nowhere, there, and darkness lights up like she just got a VIP ticket to a Michael Jackson concert, which puts Kazuma on high alert. Aqua finally decides to explain what everyone else apparently already knew. The reason no one touches this quest is that the storm brings with it a terrifying creature called the Winter Shogun. It was created by someone reincarnated from Japan, who basically built this thing and set it loose. Kazuma is not pleased. Before he can process it, the Winter Shogun comes charging in and slices Darkness's sword clean in half in an instant. Aqua scrambles to fix the situation by releasing all the snow sprites she caught and bowing to the Winter Shogun as an apology. Apparently this creature has a code of honor, and all it takes to avoid getting eliminated is dropping your weapon and bowing, which means Kazuma is watching a water goddess abandon every ounce of her dignity. Then he turns and sees Darkness still standing tall, completely refusing to bow, actively hoping the Winter Shogun does something to her. Kazuma grabs her and forces her down, which she enjoys a little too much. He tosses his weapon, starts to bow, and then everything goes dark. Kazuma wakes up in the afterlife again. This time, though, the vibe is completely different. A goddess named Eris greets him warmly, and she's the actual deity in charge of the parallel world he's been living in. The setup feels familiar at first, and Kazuma braces for another Aqua situation. But Eris is nothing like that. She offers him something real. Reincarnation back in Japan, into a wealthy family, as a reward for everything he's been through in the parallel world. Kazuma is genuinely excited and starts asking questions, and Eris answers every one of them. He's ready to go, but before he does, he starts talking about his time in the parallel world. He thought it would be like living inside a video game, but then Aqua happened, and then the rest of them happened, and it became a disaster. And then, without warning, Kazuma starts crying. He's going through the memories, and he can't stop himself because somewhere under all that frustration, he actually cares about his party. He decides he wants to go back, just a little longer. Eris is touched and starts opening the portal, but just before Kazuma can step through, he hears a voice he knows too well. It's Aqua, and she's trying to drag him back to life through sheer magical force. Eris tries to hold the rules of heaven together and stop her, but Aqua gets furious and starts going off about rules. Then she realizes it's Eris she's dealing with and immediately starts roasting her, which gets Eris completely flustered. It turns out Aqua outranks Eris, making her the big sister in this situation, so Eris has no choice but to follow her lead and let Kazuma go. Before he leaves, Eris leans in and tells him she'll remember him, and that this is their little secret from the guy upstairs. Kazuma blushes. He wakes up back in the parallel world and gets pulled into a group hug by his party, and for a moment it actually feels nice. Then Aqua opens her mouth and immediately ruins it, and Kazuma finds himself wishing he could swap her out for Eris, which sends Aqua into a full rage and she nearly hits him with a god blow. But instead of dwelling on it, Kazuma takes a breath and thinks about everything. The world, the chaos, the people, and for the first time he actually feels grateful for what he has. That night, the party winds down from the quest. Aqua pulls out the snow sprite she kept hidden in her jar, looking proud of herself. Kazuma tells her to get rid of it because it technically still has a bounty on it, which breaks her heart. She had already decided it was going to be the cute little cold weather pet that would somehow make her rich, and she's not ready to let that dream go. Then Aqua announces she's hungry, and just like that, she and the others head off to order food, leaving Kazuma by himself. Then the food arrives, and he sees the others ordered an absolute feast. Kazuma snaps back to reality because they are broke and winter is not over. The next morning, Aqua wakes up freezing because she pawned her coat for cash and now has nothing to show for it except the cold. She tries to start a fire, but the winter wind keeps snuffing it out, so she decides the logical next move is to grab Kazuma's tracksuit and burn it. Kazuma wakes up right as she's doing it and smacks her on the head, and after yelling at her for a solid minute, he decides then and there that they need a real place to live. Later, Kazuma drags Aqua into town because he wants to pick up a new skill that lets him craft his own weapon. He takes her to a skill shop, and the moment they walk in, the shopkeeper freezes up at the sight of Aqua. That's because the shopkeeper is secretly an undead, and standing in front of the goddess of water is about as comfortable as a vampire walking into a tanning salon. Aqua is already in a bad mood just from being there. The shopkeeper's name is Wiz, and she's a lich, meaning she looks completely human on the outside but spends her nights at the graveyard quietly guiding the undead to heaven. She's the ruler of the undead, the no-life queen, and somehow she runs a little magic shop. Aqua cannot stand her and makes zero effort to hide it. While they're browsing, Aqua orders Wiz to make them tea, fully expecting it to be terrible, and it turns out to be genuinely delicious. Aqua refuses to let Wiz have that win, so she mocks her anyway, full of evil stepsister energy. Then Kazuma gets to the point and tells Wiz he's there to learn lich skills. Aqua's jaw drops, and she immediately grabs Wiz by the throat to make sure that never happens. Kazuma talks her down by explaining that lich skills are actually useful in combat, and eventually Aqua backs off, still furious. Then Wiz asks Aqua about this whole goddess thing she keeps mentioning, and Aqua absolutely lights up. She launches into a full proud speech about being the goddess of water and the ruler of the Axis cult, and Wiz looks genuinely terrified, mostly because she already knows the Axis cult is completely unhinged. The two of them immediately get into it, and Kazuma is staring at the ceiling wondering what his life has become. He breaks it up, and then Wiz casually compliments him for taking down Verdia. Kazuma laughs proudly, and then Wiz just as casually mentions that she is also one of the Demon King's generals, and the whole mood shifts faster than a YouTube apology video. Aqua slaps her into an armbar before she can say another word. Kazuma gets Aqua off her and tells her to let Wiz talk, because something feels different about this one. Wiz explains that she's the only general who has never actually hurt a human, and her only job is to open the path to the Demon King. Aqua wants to handle that right now, but Wiz begs for her life because she still has things she wants to do. And she brings up something involving Verdia that is exactly the kind of thing Darkness would be into, which is its own kind of funny. Aqua doesn't buy any of it, but Kazuma lets Wiz keep talking. In return, Wiz offers Kazuma free training as a thank you for sparing her. She suggests he learn Drain Touch, a skill that lets him absorb an enemy's health and mana and use it for himself, since Wiz can only practice it on someone else. Aqua volunteers, holds out her hand, and tells Wiz to go for it. Wiz starts absorbing just a little of Aqua's power, but she gets way too into it, and Kazuma gets tired of watching, so he shoves Aqua out of the way and takes her place. By the end of it, Kazuma has a brand new skill like he just found out about Super Saiyan 4. Then Wiz starts screaming because Aqua has been quietly trying to make her cease to exist this whole time, and Kazuma pulls her back just in time. Right after that, some random guy bursts in looking for Wiz like he's got serious business with her, and the whole shop gets chaotic again. Later, that same chaos leads to an opportunity. Wiz is well connected, and one of her quests opens a door for Kazuma's party to move into a massive mansion for the winter. Everyone is ecstatic, because sleeping in that horse stable one more night might actually finish them off. So she goes in first to get a read on what's been going on inside the mansion. Whatever she sees in there clearly shakes her, but nobody believes a word she says, so they leave her outside and start getting settled. The party each claims a room, and for the first time in a long time, things actually feel okay. Kazuma lies back on a real bed and just takes a breath. After everything, the horse stable, the debt, the quests, a mansion feels like winning. Then Aqua starts screaming from down the hall. Kazuma rushes over expecting a ghost situation, but it turns out one of the spirits drank her expensive wine, and she is absolutely not letting that go. She storms out of her room and starts exorcising every spirit she crosses paths with, like John Wick when someone messes his dog. That night, Kazuma is finally sleeping comfortably when he realizes he needs to use the bathroom. He sits up and there it is, a single creepy doll sitting on his chair staring directly at him. Kazuma dives back under the blanket like the blanket is going to do something. He lies there for a while, works up the courage, opens his eyes, and his entire bed is covered in hundreds of creepy dolls. He is out of that room instantly, sprinting toward Aqua's room with the whole doll collection right behind him. He bursts in and finds Megumin already there, which is its own surprise. Megumin explains she's waiting for Aqua because they made a deal to go to the bathroom together. Kazuma cannot wait any longer and starts unzipping his pants to handle things near the window. Megumin grabs him and tells him she thought they were closer than this, that they've been through things together, and that he should come to the bathroom like a normal person. Kazuma tells her to just pee in a bottle as guys do on long trips. Megumin is furious and about to really let him have it, and then she goes completely silent because the swarm of creepy dolls is crawling up the outside of the window. The two of them bolt for the bathroom, and Kazuma, being a gentleman, lets Megumin go first. She takes forever, and apparently needs someone to sing to her before anything can happen. Kazuma loses his patience and yells at her to hurry up, which is exactly loud enough to alert the dolls to their location. He kicks the door open and yanks Megumin out before she's fully dressed, which mortifies her. They cram themselves into a closet, Kazuma on the absolute edge of his physical limits, trying to think about anything except the one thing he cannot stop thinking about. Something starts pulling at the closet door and they both panic. Kazuma decides he'll push the door open and hold it so Megumin can escape first. He shoves it open, feels a body on the other side, and hits them. It's Aqua, who just finished exorcising every last spirit in the mansion and came to check on them. The next morning, the party collects their reward for completing the quest. Kazuma also pieces together that the spirits ended up in the mansion because it sits right next to the same graveyard where he and Aqua first met Wiz. Before he takes the reward, he pulls Aqua aside and tells her they can't keep it because the whole haunting was basically their fault for running into those spirits in the first place. Later, Kazuma is out at the graveyard cleaning up around a grave that belongs to one of the spirits who was protecting the mansion. Wiz shows up out of nowhere to check on him, and she's genuinely happy that his party finally has somewhere decent to live. After she leaves, Kazuma looks up at the sky, and for once he doesn't think about debt or quests or Aqua doing something catastrophic. He just feels grateful for the quiet, simple life he's slowly building, even if it never quite goes according to plan. A few days later, Kazuma's party is finally settling into mansion life. Darkness and Megumin are playing chess, and Kazuma is doing absolutely nothing, just sitting there staring into the fireplace like a man who has lost all sense of purpose. Then Aqua walks over and tells him to get off the couch because a couch that is luxurious belongs to the highest level member of the party, which is her. Kazuma laughs on the inside because he knows Aqua at level 100 is somehow still the most useless person in any room. But for the first time ever, he actually gets up and lets her have it. He pats her on the shoulder like a tired dad on his way out, but inside he's hollow because it just hit him that none of them have thought about their actual mission in weeks. Nobody is thinking about the Demon King. Nobody. The next day, Kazuma is wandering through town when he spots his adventurer friends Keith and Dust lurking near an alley looking extremely suspicious, like they're guarding something they definitely shouldn't be. Kazuma goes to check it out, and they yank him aside and tell him the truth. Behind that alley is a gentleman's only club run entirely by female succubi, creatures whose entire job is to make a man's wildest dreams come true, literally. Kazuma signs up on the spot without a second thought. Inside it is everything they promised and more, wall to wall, beautiful women. And every man in there is grinning like he just completed his life's final achievement. Kazuma slides into a booth and notices the intimidating guy from the guild sitting right next to him, nodding at Kazuma like a seasoned veteran welcoming a rookie. Kazuma peeks at the guy's form and notices he listed himself as something other than an adventurer, which is suspicious. But before he can think about it too long, a succubus in all black appears at his table, and every thought leaves his brain immediately. She walks him through how everything works, and the key detail is that none of this actually happens in real life. It all takes place in a dream, completely harmless, no consequences. There's even a request form where Kazuma can describe exactly what he wants the experience to look like. He fills it out faster than he has ever filled out any document in his life and heads home. That evening, Kazuma walks back to the mansion practically floating, but he has to play it cool because if the girls find out about his plans for tonight, they will absolutely ruin it. Then he walks into the dining room, and his stomach drops because Darkness's family has sent over king crabs and high-end wine, and now there's a whole feast happening. He sits down and tries to enjoy it, and the food is genuinely incredible, full-on food montage worthy. Then Aqua pulls out the expensive wine, the really good bottle, and demonstrates how to drink it properly out of a crab shell. And the look on her face after that first sip is so deeply satisfied that it makes everyone at the table feel something. Kazuma wants to drink so badly, but he knows even one glass could knock out his stream, and he is not risking that. Darkness reaches over, takes the cup right out of his hand, and starts enjoying it herself, then turns to him and asks why he's not drinking. Kazuma tells her he already had some earlier in the day, and she just smiles at him, soft and genuine, which is completely out of character for someone who usually only perks up when something is about to hurt her. That smile does something to Kazuma, and he starts rethinking the whole plan. He looks around at his party actually having a good time together, and decides that maybe this night belongs to them, not to some stranger in a dream. He stands up and announces he's going to sleep, which is only half a lie. Later that night, Kazuma cannot sleep at all because his nerves are completely shot. He gets up and draws a hot bath to calm down and eventually drifts off right there in the tub. When he opens his eyes, the lantern is out and everything feels different, and he realizes he's in the dream. He can see a figure outside the bathroom getting ready to come in, and he braces himself. The succubus walks through the door, and it's Darkness. Not what he requested, but Kazuma decides to just roll with it and asks her to wash his back. Darkness seems off, nervous in a way that is different from her usual weird nervous, but Kazuma is too committed to the bit to notice, and she ends up washing his back exactly like he asked. When she tries to leave, Kazuma tells her he's not done, that he needs to be dried off slowly, and Darkness is fighting every instinct in her body as she goes along with it, and Kazuma snaps back to reality. He storms out furious because of course Aqua is doing this right now. He follows the noise and finds Aqua and Megumin standing over a cornered succubus they apparently caught sneaking around the mansion. Kazuma is still not entirely sure what was the dream and what was real, and whether the Darkness who just washed him is standing right there. Then Aqua starts charging up her exorcism spell, and something in Kazuma's brain short-circuits, and he steps directly in front of the succubus to protect her. Aqua looks at him like he has completely lost it, and tells him this is a devil they should be getting rid of. But Kazuma is not moving. The girls want the succubus gone, but Kazuma is literally standing in their way. The succubus is genuinely apologetic about the whole situation, and offers to let them do whatever they want, because she's new and made a mistake. Out of options and out of time, Kazuma drops into a full battle stance like he's the attack titan. He launches himself into the air like he's going for a game-winning shot, just for the girls beat him to the floor, but the succubus makes it out. The next morning, Kazuma is cleaning the entire mansion by himself as punishment. Darkness comes to check on him, and Kazuma sticks completely to the mind control story, acting like a man who was simply a victim of supernatural forces. Darkness looks genuinely relieved and tells him she doesn't blame him at all since it wasn't really him doing any of that. She walks away feeling totally fine about the whole thing, completely unaware that it was absolutely him the entire time. Then the emergency alarm goes off across the town, calling every adventurer to action because something massive is heading their way. Everyone is panicking, and when even Aqua and Megumin are packing their bags, you know it's serious. Kazuma still has no idea what the destroyer actually is, so Darkness fills him in. It's an ancient weapon of mass destruction that moves on its own, and anything in its path gets completely wiped off the map, grass included. That gets everyone scared, except Kazuma, who decides right then that he is not letting some walking castle bulldoze everything he has. worked for. Every adventurer in town gathers at the guild and gets briefed on what they're dealing with. But the real problem is nobody knows how to stop it. Chris suggests they all just run and let it flatten the town. She tells Kazuma to use that brain of his, and he does. He plans to have Aqua break through the destroyer's barrier, which would also reveal to everyone that she is genuinely a goddess, and not just a weird woman who claims to be one. And that leads every eye in the room straight to Megumin. She's not fully confident she can pull it off, but nobody has a better idea, so they go with it. Then Wiz walks in, and the entire room loses it, because apparently everyone knows her, like that one girl from campus that somehow knows everybody, and suddenly the plan actually feels like a plan. Everyone gets fired up, the quest is officially on, and people start preparing while others begin building emergency walls around the town. Meanwhile, Darkness is standing outside the town walls alone, completely still, like she's aura farming. Kazuma goes to check on her and she tells him the truth. She's the princess of the Dustiness family, the noble house that actually governs this town, and protecting it isn't just something she wants to do, it's who she is. Her full name is Dustiness Ford Lalatina. Kazuma is genuinely impressed, and for once he doesn't push back or make it weird. He tells her he can't stand selfish people who make everything about themselves, but what she's doing is different because it's for her family, and that lands differently on her. The moment goes quiet, and Kazuma decides to break it by calling her Lalatina just to watch her squirm. The destroyer finally comes into view looking like a final boss that no one prepares for. Aqua goes first, launching her sacred break spell directly at the barrier, and for a second, nobody is sure she actually has what it takes. So she pushes harder, pours everything into it, and the barrier shatters. Now it's Megumin's turn, and she is visibly shaking, which is not great. Kazuma starts going back and forth between mocking her and encouraging her, and somewhere in that chaos he hits exactly the right nerve, and something in Megumin clicks. She locks in, starts casting, and Wiz mirrors the spell beside her, because when you're a grand wizard you can just do that. 2 explosion spells hit the unprotected destroyer at the same time, and it goes down. Everyone erupts, celebrating like the fight is over, and Kazuma already knows that it's way too clean of an ending. Sure enough, the destroyer starts shaking and glowing red, like something massive is trying to claw its way out because it has switched into self-destruct mode. Panic spreads instantly. Darkness doesn't flinch. She walks straight toward it, and when Kazuma tells her to run, she tells him a knight doesn't run, though the look on her face makes it pretty clear she also just really wants to be near that explosion. The other adventurers see her go in, and it fires them up, along with the thought of what's waiting for them at the Succubus Club if they survive this, and they all charge in after her to find whoever is controlling the thing. Once inside, Wiz floats the idea of teleporting the whole machine somewhere far away before it blows, which is genuinely the best plan anyone has had all day. But first, they need to get everyone out and track down the crew responsible. They find the control room, and inside is a skeleton that has clearly been sitting there alone for a very long time. There's a diary next to it. Kazuma and Aqua read it and discover the person who built the destroyer was, by all accounts, a complete idiot, which does not help them at all. They eventually locate the core that's powering the self-destruct sequence, and Wiz is ready to teleport it somewhere far, but she doesn't have enough magic left to do it alone. She tells Kazuma she needs to drain him, and Kazuma's brain immediately goes somewhere else entirely, and he agrees way too fast. He closes his eyes, and then Wiz grabs his hand and uses Drain Touch to pull his mana straight out of him. The disappointment on his face is immediate. He tells her to hurry up and just send it somewhere, and thus anywhere. Wiz is nervous about accidentally teleporting it into another town, but Kazuma looks her in the eye and tells her he'll take full responsibility for wherever it lands, and that does something to her. She teleports the core into the void, and it's gone. Everyone heads outside thinking it's finally over, and then the destroyer starts shaking again, glowing red, the heat building up from the inside like it saved one last surprise. Everyone runs. Kazuma turns to Wiz and tells her to teleport it again, and she tells him she physically cannot, because using any more magic right now would eliminate her. They're cornered. Then Megumin shows up, completely composed, and says she'll handle it. Kazuma uses Drain Touch to pull mana from Aqua and channel it directly into Megumin, and the moment it hits her, she can feel exactly how much raw power Aqua is actually carrying around. She locks onto the destroyer, casts her explosion spell, and this time it is on a completely different level. The explosion that follows makes everything she has done before look like a warm-up, bigger than anything this world has ever seen. Days pass and life slowly goes back to normal. People are happy, the town is standing, and Kazuma lets himself feel like a hero for a minute. Then Aqua kicks his door open because there is a problem. Kazuma assumes it's the usual, that the Imperial capital wants to reward him and give him a ceremony, and he starts mentally preparing his speech. It is not that. It is a warrant for his arrest, hitting Kazuma harder than the meteor that blew up all the dinosaurs because the core Wiz teleported landed directly in an overlord's mansion and blew it up, making Kazuma an internationally wanted criminal. He sits there and stares at nothing, and for the first time since arriving in this parallel world, he genuinely regrets every single choice that led him to this exact moment. Comment down below, 1 dude and 3 idiotic baddies, if you watched till the end. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video.